Welcome to Serenity Resource Connect, a community corner special live forum on back-to-school readiness, expert tips for early childhood parents and educators. Today, we have partnered with the Early Childhood Commission to bring you practical advice and valuable resources to support your child's smooth transition back to school. For those joining us for the first time, I am Winsome Sharia Witter, founder and executive director of Serenity Resource Connector, and your host for this and our other weekly live programs. Now, let's meet our experts from the Early Childhood Commission. And first, we have up our manager of early childhood development assessment services in the person of Louri-Ann Robotham. Welcome, Louri-Ann.
Thank you. I'm actually very, very happy to be here. I'm a resident, so I'm,
That's
I'm glad
right.
to be home.
I should say welcome back. All right. And joining Louri-Ann, we have the Jamaica School Readiness Assessment JSRA coordinator, Sophia Stewart. Welcome back, Sophia.
Thank you. 2 years really does fly, Winsome. It's surely a
Tell me
pleasure
about
to
it.
be back.
Awesome. Sophia is joined by our Senior Inspector for Region 7, Andrea Edwards-Brown. Welcome back, Andrea.
Hi, good night, everyone. I am happy to be here and, excited to share about what it is that we need to do for our babies.
Our babies, indeed. Joining Andrea and the others, we have our Community Relations Manager acting, Carene Francis. Welcome, Carene. I think this is your first time in this space.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And it's great to have you as part of the SRCECC family. Rounding out with no stranger to this space,
Absolutely.
our Community Relations Officer for Region 7, Shaunette Grant. Welcome back, Shaunette.
Hi, good night, everyone. It's always good to be back.
All right. And we're saying back for those who are new to the space or who weren't with us. In year 2022, we had the year of early childhood development, one entire year every month, and it was third Thursdays as well that we had the year of early childhood development. So if you missed any of that, whether you are supporting an early childhood institution, you're a parent, you're a community advocate, educator, anything in that space, you want to check out that playlist, it's still there. So you can go through and get some insights on how you can help to make the institutions ready, but we're going to be looking at a little variation to school readiness. I'm sure some of you have some ideas, but I know you're going to be pleasantly surprised the turn of the discussion. So let's get right into it. And we are going to start from a place of understanding school readiness. And so Louri-Ann is going to take us through this first segment by helping us to understand what school readiness means from both an educational and emotional perspective. Go right ahead, Louri-Ann.
Thank you so much. Really excited to share about this. This is one of my little babies. In terms of readiness, oftentimes as Jamaicans, first thing comes to our mind, did we purchase all of the books on the book list? Did we get the school shoes? We have the school socks, and that is being ready for school. But in our context, it's way more different than what you would expect. Um, Readiness really speaks to the skills, the knowledge, your attitude um, necessary for success in school for later learning and later on in life. Sorry. So, what does that mean? Um, our first highlight would really be on social and emotional learning. What is that? That sound like me have to go get in tune with my feelings and me not see how that necessary and the feelings things are important. That is actually far removed from the truth. If I, but I'm terrified of snakes. So I'm picturing myself in a pit of snakes. I'll be like so terrified. I won't be able to think straight. So for our children, if their social and emotional learning skills are not supported, they would be in a state where it would be very difficult for them to learn all the cognitive, the A's and the B's and the sounds and reading and numeracy. So we have to be mindful that it is more than being able to say certain things, read certain things, but it's a lot has to do with what is going on in their little minds and in their hearts. So social and emotional learning has components that speaks to self-awareness. Now children need to recognize what it is that they're feeling, their own feelings, such as happiness. What does a happy face look like? If they're sad, if they're angry, and when they're able to identify these feelings, then we're able to manage these feelings. So, self management is another aspect of our social and emotional learning. Now, what does that mean? Self regulation. Um, Sometimes I just want my candy, and you have candy, and my candy finished. I go grab it from you, push it down, and I'm going to eat the candy. Is that what we want our children to be doing? No, we want them to be asking permission, respecting other person's boundaries, space, and things. So we have to give children opportunities to learn how it is to regulate their emotions. Um, when I used to teach, I used to have a lot of fun just blowing bubbles because the instruction was always do not pop the bubble. And I kid you not, as the bubbles go, you just see the little hands because bubbles are fun and you just want to pop the bubbles. But when you reward the children who are able to delay that gratification, wait a little, and the other children seeing, okay, I'm going to try too. Those are some of the activities that we can engage in. Bubbles aren't expensive, so at home we can be doing some games and playing with our children. Early Childhood Commission believes wholeheartedly that children learn through play. So it's not sit and let me teach you all for self-regulate and you will. It has to be done through play, through storytelling, through games. So we encourage our uh, parents and our teachers to use what we know helps our children, and that avenue is always going to be play. Social and emotional learning speaks to relationship skills. How do I communicate with others? How do I cooperate with others? How do I resolve conflicts? I had the dog first and she come and take it from me, and it's me first have it and I'm going to thump her out. No, we have to learn how to take turns, how to respect other people. So when we talk about readiness, is putting our children in nurturing environments that will support these skills. These skills will help them right throughout lives. You find that if you look at some adults and some issues that they're really having a challenge resolving conflicts through amicable, um, socially acceptable ways. And so you can see from the onset that if we develop these skills from early on, it will transcend into adulthood. We'll have better learners. We'll have the space for creativity because we know how to respect each other. Oh, you're painting ugly. We look for the good in people, kind of a thing. So we are definitely having to change the lens that we wear in terms of being ready for school. Being ready for school does not necessarily need a pretty bag lunch kit. Yes, we do need that. We need our tools, but it's also looking deeply and closely at the child as a person and having the skills to function in life. Um, I think I'm going to just pause a little and allow you to, because you know that I will go on and on and on and on, and you have to rein me in. But I just wanted to have that little landscape for you for you to have
Yes,
an idea of the premise for which we stand. So readiness
right.
is really getting the skills, the attitude that we need to function as lifelong learners.
Indeed. And I'm sure the learning is taking place already. And for those who are not catching everything, not to worry. We have a nice comprehensive blog that's lined up for you on Monday. So the full hour will be put in some capsules, so you can go back and check it out on the website at serenityresourceconnector.com. All right. So don't worry about taking notes. Just focus now, enjoy and share. I see Claude Knight joining us from Florida. J. Joe was asking if the video will be available after the live. Yes, it will be. So you can access the video for replay and share the link so others can benefit from it as well. So Louri-Ann, I'm sure some parents, educators saying, but boy, you're the expert, so you know how to spot the signs and all of that. But what key developmental milestones should parents and educators look for to assess the child's readiness for school?
Well, I was just checking my audio, sorry. We tend to look at certain areas. One would speak to cognition, cognitive development. We look at social and emotional. We look at language. We also look at the physical aspect of the child's development. Cognition will factor in literacy and numeracy. And of course, certain behavior. So we have to look at that's why we speak to the attitude of the child. So for us, we're not advocates of it all day on the screen. We want our children to have their imagination. That's how they build their creativity. We want children to be exploring and discovering. Even with colors, when we have our children mixing the colors, it's they're recognizing that red and yellow give orange, and that's going to be like amazing to them. We don't want to be always telling red and yellow, orange. We want them to discover it. It's more meaningful for them because they would have had that experience of discovery. So we would say to our parents, it depends on the age, because early childhood really spans from birth. Sometimes I want to say conception, right, through to age 8. So there are different milestones for each age group that might be varied. But for the most part, physically, we want to kind of observe our children through play or how they interact with others. Are they moving okay? Do they seem to be squinting a lot because they're not seeing? When you give certain instruction, something that child deaf, is it really that the child is being difficult as we would want to say, but the child could genuinely not be hearing well. So we can do things to see how responsive they are. In terms of their walking, we want to make sure that the movement is what we would expect. So those are some of the things that we would look out for in terms of physically. In terms of cognition, and I'm being very general because again, milestones are skewed towards a particular age band. In terms of cognition, we want our children to be able to be on task, to give us some attention. In terms of attention, I usually say, if the child is 2, you have 2 minutes solid with their full attention. After that, that's it. If they're 3, you have 3 minutes. 4, so the child's attention span would be varied, but you do expect them to be paying attention to you, looking at you, responding to certain visual clues. As it relates to social and emotional, we tend to look out for the aggressive behaviors. Oftentimes our children are having a difficult time managing their big feelings. I want it now. And so waiting our turn is something that we really have to teach, so we have to give them opportunities to learn that. Okay, after mommy goes there, then you can. So certain instructions give them some opportunities to recognize that everything is not going to be no, and that would help. Engaging your children in activities in a home is one good way to see how responsive they are. Can you get the red clothespin for me, please? And you have at least 5 different colors. You're checking to see if they're really no red, or is because you just swing the red. You understand what I mean? But those are some of the things that we look out for. And we do have a screening tool that we use at a national level. And this is the JSRA, the Jamaica Back-to-School Readiness assessment tool, which checks in on these kind of skills and attitude towards learning. I know that my colleague Sophia is going to be jumping all over that as the coordinator, so I won't go over there. But that screening tool gives us an opportunity to see whether or not our children are hitting the milestones as expected. I hope I've answered your question.
Oh, yes. All right. Just to check in, I see regions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 have checked in. Welcome. Thank you for connecting. As we wrap up this first segment, how can parents and educators work together to ensure a child is fully prepared for the transition to school, Louri? Let's see how
Okay.
concise we can wrap that up.
All right. Deep breath, and I'm just gonna go.
Okay.
I would just say 4 quick points. Creating nurturing environment. Parents are the child's first teacher, and so the home environment, how you relate to the child. So you can't be saying you're too rough, and then you yourself as a parent pulling and tugging the child. You need to demonstrate the behavior that you want the child to follow. It's very interesting that it's not necessarily what you say, but what you do that they copy. So you want them to be copying you doing the right things. Encouraging early learning in terms of reading to your children. We advocate for reading. We have Reap on the corner, not jumping in anybody's business. I know Shaunette and Carene will jump all over that. But we want parents to be reading more to children. It opens their vocabulary. It helps them in terms of stimulating creativity. It helps with their language in terms of new words. You're going to a different place altogether, and you have different experiences together. So we say read. We also say play. We encourage our parents to promote independence. No, you want to hurry up and get to work, but allow the child to try and button up the clothes. Why? Because the buttons help with their fine motor skills. That will help them later on with their writing. And so we want to stem right nicely. Start with allowing them to button their clothes, trying to tie their laces. We encourage very good communication with our children. Tap into how is it that you're feeling? How should we behave when we feel this way? Is it okay for me to hit? Is it okay for me to bite? Um, we can be very punitive and never bite you back. That is not really encouraging the behavior again that we want to model. Um, we as adults have to recognize when you tell a child don't, it's kind of like they're going to do it. So you have to put the instruction in a positive way and say what you want them to do. All right. So, as a teacher, you say, don't run. And it's almost like I just said, run. That's all I heard. So I had to learn to say walk because that's what I wanted them to do. So communicating with them with clear, simple instructions. And those are my main tenets that both educators and parents can adapt because we do need home and family to work together to build the best learning outcome for each child. That was as brief as I can do.
Thank you, Louri-Ann. All right. Awesome. So that is Louri-Ann Robotham sharing with us an understanding of what it means to be ready for school. And we are shifting gears and we're going to be sharing with you some practical tips for parents. And to take this away, we have Shaunette Grant, our Community Relations Officer from Region 7. So Shaunette, let's get right into it. What daily routine should parents establish before the school year starts to help their children adjust?
All right, thank you for that. So basically, guess what? So we got the summer break, and a summer break is actually a summer break. So we actually break away from routines. So the regular activities that we do when school was in session, we ensure we get up early, we ensure we go to our beds early at night so we get enough rest for the next morning. That break after school end in July, the first week in July. So we have lost the routine. We have some families or some households, they may have thrown out the routine, thrown out the regular way of doing things, and the children are now out of whack with everything that usually happened when school was in session. Guess what? We're gonna have to get back there. So we're gonna have to start now. We're gonna have to get them back into the routine of when we were in school, because school will soon start. And in order for us to do that, we have to get back some practice. So those timetables that you had before, bedtime is at 8:30. You're going to have to get back there. You're going to have the discussions with the children, because sometimes as parents, what parents tend to do is that they just start throwing the rules at the children. And sometimes when we actually throw the rules, we throw it with a heavy voice and the aggressive gestures as well. And we have to move away from that. So we start in very soft and simple conversations. So, Johnny, we're going to have to go back to what we used to, because school will soon start. We don't want to be getting up late and we miss the taxi, we miss the bus to get to school, and we don't want to be late to go back to school. So, guess what? We're going to start all over this week. So, as of this week, you are going to be going back to bed 8:30. I'm going to be setting the alarm when you shut off the devices, and that is the other thing too. We start living back on the devices intensely, so night come and we're just there. For some households, I know that's what happens. They're just there on the devices, no rest, and then they lose out on that rest that they need for the next day. So the energy is gone because it was used up watching with the whole screen time. So we're going to have to get back to the bedtime routines. We're going to have to get back to the wake up routines as well. We're going to have to get back to sitting down for breakfast and what are the things that we're going to be eating for breakfast. Because sometimes we can't think about it the same morning. So sometimes we have to have the conversations the day before. What would you like to eat? Stuff like that. So you are preparing them mentally as well as physically for when September morning hits us, which is in a few weeks. So we have to get back to that routine, and even for the parents as well, because even though I'm talking about talking to the children, you have to talk to yourself as a parent too. You're going to have to tell yourself that, okay, my child is going back to school. And for some of us, it's more than one children in the house. So you're going to have to get back to the fact, say, I have a 5-year-old and I have one in primary school and I have one in high school. You're going to have to get back to the different routines that you were used to prior to summer break. So start practicing now. Start doing the simulation exercises where we set the alarms, where we communicate with each other about breakfast time, where we have the different conversations about, oh, the bag should be there, the uniforms are there, your shoes should be there. Ensure that your bag is packed. Some of the books you may not have them ready as yet, but at the same time, you start putting together a little notebook. You put together the pencil, the crayon, the sharpener, all of those stationery that you're gonna need for school when September morning comes. So don't wait until the last minute. We tend to have last minute situations and it causes things to blow out of whack. So get yourself ready for yourself as parent and also for the children. Have the conversation, communicate with them, and also remind yourself as to what it is that we want to happen when September morning comes. Mark you, we make plans, but at the end of the day, sometimes things go wrong. But then when you practice as to how we want these things to happen, then when something goes wrong, it's not so bad because we have a plan B in place and we had the conversation already before September morning come. And I can tell you it worked, because as a mommy, now I said, look here, girls, guess what? Look at the calendar. What you see? September morning come in. Summer break soon over, soon done. You're going to have to put away that tablet, put away that phone. You're going to have to tell yourself now, say a rest time, and your body gonna need it because we're gonna have to be out there Monday morning. We know how Monday mornings go. Everybody hustling and bustling. We can't be tired on that Monday morning. So communication is key, basically, in getting back to our routine that we were used to when school was in session. So it's very important that we have the conversations and don't start having it the week before the first week in September. Not good. So if you never started before, tomorrow Friday, make we work you out tonight. What time is it now? 8:25, 5 minutes away from bedtime. Look here, lock off devices, all devices down. Bedtime, rest time. We need to get it together and we practice that and go straight through until we get to September morning. Don't wait until the last minute.
All right. You have to develop the habit, and developing a habit takes time. All right.
Yes, it
So
does.
we have the babies who are going to be going out for the very first time, and not just the parents, but the babies. You're not so sure what exactly to expect. So help these parents prepare, um, or guide the children in preparing on how to deal with the social aspect of school life, making friends and following rules, because a whole new ball game for them.
Oh yes, and I can remember that time for myself. It was a whole week of crying, and then I thought the week would have ended, and then the next week it was crying. As a matter of fact, it went through the whole school term. But the thing about it is that when we are able to make the plans, so I know that some institutions they would have had, if they haven't started yet, some might have already started, and some might be starting in a few weeks, the orientation sessions. So the social aspect that these children need helps to create that emotional well-being that is needed, especially for the first timers, as we spoke about the babies. It is going to be a case that they're going to have to be familiar with the spaces. They're going to have to be familiar with the environment that they will be going in as of September morning, as well as the individuals they would be seeing, teachers, other students. And one of the things that can also assist the parents with the smaller ones heading out in the community, because we know the community is important in this as well. You have your neighbors who have children as well who are going out to the same institutions, and what you can do is to actually have conversations with those parents and let the children interact with those children as well. And you remind them that that you remember Susie next door, that little Johnny, her son, you and him going to the same school. So you prepare them, and even with that preparation, the interaction that they would have on a regular basis on the community level, when they get to school, it's not going to be so new for them. So at least they have that one friend that they would have had from home, and then it would propel them when they get to school. So during the orientation sessions, go to school with them, and when you go, you have that level of interaction with the class teachers, introduction. You show them around the classroom. If the setting is already prepared, you have them seated, and this is where you might sit. Teacher might move you. So don't be surprised if teacher move you one morning and your seat might be over there. So they have an idea of what to expect. All right. So at the end of the day, nobody is frightened. Nobody is shocked. And some of them they will still end up crying, and some of them they might throw tantrums. But one of the things too, what you realize is not only the children have the emotional and the social situation going on with the first day of school, the parents too. There's an anxiety situation going on, and they also get into the mode of the attachment syndrome situation, the separation is gonna, they're wondering, is my child going to be ready? Is my child going to be okay? They're going to be in a new space. Will they treat him like how I treat him at home? Will he get lunch at the same time? Will he eat the lunch? Is it? And so many questions, and you overwhelm yourself for no reason at all. Because guess what? This is going to be their space for the next term, for the next school year. So you're gonna have to prepare them and prepare yourselves. Some parents they don't want to leave them, but it is best to just separate yourself a bit. It doesn't have to be a sudden separation, but gradually you just do the orientation sessions, go in with them, talk with them, and let them know what is happening. If you realize, you notice I would come in with the conversations. So you have to have the conversations, and you have to actually have the exercises, take it into action, let them meet and greet, let them see their space and understand what will happen. They understand what is going on, but it's just for us to have a communication with them to let them know this is what is going to happen. And sometimes too, in terms of getting them to school, what are the plans you have in place? In terms of a taxi, will it be a taxi? Do they know the taxi driver? Are they familiar with the persons who will pick them up, who will drop them off? Who do you have in place to actually carry out this exercise? It's a everybody affair, a family affair. So don't let it be a thing that is only me one and me alone. If you think it is you alone, or you actually have that situation, you're gonna have to get some help. get some support in order for this whole transition to work out for you and your child as best as possible.
Right, and we're hearing well said and cheers going up in the comments. All right, so we're rounding out this segment. Uh, let's hear what role nutrition and sleep play in a child's readiness for school. Help the parents in managing this effectively.
Oh, that's me again, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's you.
Nutrition and sleep. So we spoke about the sleep initially, and
Yes.
even as adults, we realize that we really need sleep. Like if you don't get to sleep, you feel like you're gonna turn over next day. Like literally, you feel the tiredness hitting you. So it's just the same for our children. They need to get their rest, and it's our responsibility as adults to let them understand that it's time for bed. Let them get their full 8 hours, so that when they wake up in the morning, sometimes some of them will tell us, I'm still tired, I still want sleep, and they will go on and on about this whole tired and want sleep and don't want to go to school. But at the end of the day, you have to let them understand that yes, I know that you want to sleep, so that is why I let you go to your bed early, so you can get all the rest you can get throughout the time, throughout the night, so when morning comes you're up and ready. So the sleep is important, and some of them, their sleep patterns have been broken because it's summer break. So there goes the routine again. We have to get back to the practice of going to bed timely, in a timely manner, so that we have a wake up time as well, and we don't feel overwhelmed and stressed, and they don't feel overwhelmed and stressed, because they do get overwhelmed and stressed and they get exhausted. So we have to try and eliminate that. So get enough rest, allow them to go to their beds timely, in a timely manner. And in terms of the nutrition, that also fell out of whack for the summer break. Sugar, 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 sweet, 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 sweet. Everything just gone out of the door in terms of having your water, having your fruits, and having your vegetable, because we are on summer break. So everything just break. But guess what? We're gonna have to get back to the water. Get back to the water, get back to the fruits. And some parents say, my pitney don't eat fruits. Guess what? Blend it up and fix it up and change it up and twist it up and pretty it up. The internet have so many ways of showing you creativity. Use it up. Find ways to just get them to like the things that you think they don't like. And sometimes we tell ourselves that they don't like it, but we never give it to them because we already make up in our mind. So they're not going to eat it. No, but you have to try it with them. You have to try it with them and do it in different styles. My child eats lettuce. And the only reason why my child eats lettuce is that I fixed up with a nice little dressing and he said, bam, good, it tastes nice. So you have to find different ways to get them to just start accepting the nutritious foods, because most of the times we tell ourselves, no, size the taste bad in them, we can't bother with them. But the taste bad things are the things that are good for us, because we tell ourselves a vegetable that tastes good. But guess what? It is good for us. It helps us to give us that energy, and they need the energy, and they also need the nutrition. As Louri spoke about the development, they need it for that. They need it for the learning. They need it for the interaction. They need it to boost whatever it is that they need in order to learn and grasp whatever concepts will be taught at school. So you have to get back into the whole vitamins. The additional vitamins are also needed to boost the immune system. So the gummy vites and all of those things, you can talk to your pediatrician about that. For some of them, you say that they're picky eaters. There are added stuff that you can give them support in order to let them boost the energy a bit. So start incorporating those nutritious foods again. I notice I say again, because we throw it out. The sweetie and the bully or something them come in now, and the sweet drinks. Every day a water day from tomorrow. Water you're gonna drink, no juice. We're not buying any juice. Every day gonna be water day. And then we move on to having lunchtime. It's lunchtime. You know that when you're at home, you can say it's lunchtime. It's lunch break now. And for lunch, we're going to be having cut up melon. We're going to have cut up melon. You want to cut up the melon? You cut up the melon in whatever shape you want, and you are going to, where you want to eat it, with spoon or fork. And you kind of have that interaction with them, and for them to understand that, look here, I don't force me, I force you, I don't fight me, I fight you. You can have it the way how you want. I just want you to eat it because it's good for you. So that, at the end of the day, when they get to school and they see these things, they're not going to tell teacher, say, me not eat that. My mother don't give me that. No, you have to introduce these things again. And for those children who actually you thought that they didn't eat it, Just try them with it. How you know you don't like it if you not try it? Try it, man. Taste it with me. So the nutritious aspect is very important because it is going to assist in having our children being able to learn as they should when they get to school. We know that hungry belly can't work. Hungry belly children can't learn. We know that you get tired and you drop asleep and you're fed up and you can't bother hear nothing what teacher have to say. But you have to eat in order for whatever teacher is teaching you, they grasp it and they know what is happening and they develop at the right age, at the right stage, and at the right time. And then they have the nap time at school. So don't let it be a case that your children are up all night and they, because they're up all night, they go to school and they drop asleep and everything that teacher teach, it gone in a sleep mode because they were sleeping during teaching time. So it's important that we remember these things and don't take it for granted that it will just come automatically September morning. It's not going to work like that. Routines are important. These are actions that are done regularly. So you're going to have to get back into the routine. So nutrition, important. Enough sleep time is important, not only for your children, but also for yourself as well.
All right. So those were some practical tips for our parents from Shaunette Grant. And we have all 7 regions registered on this live. Thank you so much for coming out, Team ECC. All right. So we are going to go on over to our classroom preparation for educators. So we're touching everybody. We talked to the babies, the parents, our educators. Andrea Edwards-Brown, or Senior Inspector Region 7. What are the key elements of an engaging and inclusive classroom environment for early childhood students? Because we got to keep them engaged or we're going to lose them, right?
Yes, good evening again, everyone. So as we look at, elements of inclusive environment, I think it's important that we look at what is inclusive education, and it is really ensuring that each child in your classroom, no matter their individual needs or their barriers, they all have equal access to the same opportunities to achieve. We want each child to be able to achieve at the early childhood level in that classroom. And so, in creating this environment, we have to ensure that it works for all our pupils. And so, before we get to the classroom itself, I just want to talk about the fact that we must first start with safety. Safety is paramount to the Early Child Commission. It is a big part of our Early Childhood Act and regulation and also our standards. And so it's important that our babies are safe. And so we have to make safety a priority in our schools. That means compliance with our fire department or building code or public health department. It also means ensuring that that outdoor environment first is safe. When you go to manufacturing companies and so on, at the gate, you see safety begins here. Whenever we enter an ECI, even before getting into that inclusive classroom, we want to know that safety is beginning on the outdoor at the gate. So all of those materials, those old chairs, those old pipes, the desk, anything you have in the environment that is, has the possibility to harm the child, first we have to ensure that safety begins in the general environment. So we have to remove those safety hazards for our children. And so as we get to the classroom, safety is even more important. And so we want to put out first that we want a safe environment as it relates to inclusive classrooms. And so we want to look at the child, we want to look at the environment, we want to look at the resources we have available, accessibility to those materials for the child, and we want to look at the culture that we're in as well as the curriculum that we're using, right? So in every situation, we want to create an atmosphere, that is inviting for our children, all right, that provides for that personal space, all right, including materials or photographs of our children. So first, as we look at the child, how will we know about the child in order to prepare this inclusive environment? Parents are expected to share at the beginning or at registration with the ECI, the individual needs and abilities of the child, and in sharing these individual needs and abilities, then the classroom teacher is able to provide for that individual child. Um, One saying is that, early child is not too far from special needs, because we have to see the children as individuals. And so we're looking at their developmental age and stage and their specific needs in order to provide this inclusive, learning environment. So first, as we look at our standards, we are asked to provide at least 5 learning environments, within the classroom. And these 5 learning environments include that of language and reading. It looks at our art and sensory learning area. It looks at our manipulative and cognitive area, or science and nature and our dramatic play area. These areas must be adequately, furnished with proper resources that are not damaged, that are not dirty, that don't have sharp edges to harm our children. All right. We want these resources to be adequate in number. And so if it is that you have 10 children, you want to ensure that you have adequate toys, for example, adequate dolls, probably 5 dolls in the doll area. So if a child is interested in playing with dolls and another set is interested in going in the, for example, the cognitive and the manipulative and cognitive area, they will also have, the blocks, the different varieties of materials for children to play with. And so these 10 children, they're able to explore in a safe environment with adequate materials. So we ask that adequate materials are also provided. We ask that the materials are cleaned weekly. You want to ensure that the materials are not dusty and dirty. For example, in probably nursery, you have children who might mouth toys. You want to ensure that those toys are cleaned after each child use and so on. So it's a number of things when we look at the classroom environment and what it should look like and what is expected. The classroom environment is dynamic. It's always changing. And so we want to ensure that it is flexible. It allows for adequate movement of the children. There's adequate space for children to interact. We want to ensure that it allows for socialization. So little Johnny wants to do a dramatic imaginary play activity with his or her friend. Is there adequate space in the dramatic play area for both of them to go in, and interact and play with each other? So we want to look at the spacing as well. We don't want an overcrowded classroom or an overstimulated classroom. The learning environment is not static. It continues to change. It's dynamic. It flows with what is to be implemented based on the curriculum. And so as the teacher, even though you're preparing to go out in September, you have to remember that your environment itself is changing. It is dynamic. And one of the biggest players in the learning environment is that practitioner that is supportive, that is loving, that is kind, that allows for guidance for our children, that gives them, that indirect guidance by setting up the space so that they're able to explore and enjoy. Automatically, our children are explorers. They want to touch, they want to feel, they want to taste. Are we able to set that environment for our children as we continue to prepare for them? We can't forget our schedule. Our schedule is important. Children thrive on schedule. Ms. Grant spoke about that earlier. So we have to have our schedule. We have to ensure that our schedule is not just static, but it is also flexible, because our babies are not robots and their routine may change. They might fall asleep when it's nap time, but maybe they didn't. And so you may have to provide them with something else. What in that inclusive learning environment do you have available for them, to be able to use those things? All right. We want to provide a balance between, the times that the children are up and about and active versus those quiet time when we're looking at our environment. All right. We also want to allow for a relaxed time. We don't want the reading area beside the dramatic play area, because the dramatic play area is exciting. It's loud. People are, they're sharing. And the reading area more than likely is a quiet area. A child might just want to relax on a beanbag or just sit on the chair that is available, whatever is available, and just look through and look at the pictures, pretend to read or read, depending on what it is that they're doing. So as we look at the environment, we must take into consideration more than anything else the individual needs of the child, the safety within the environment, our own mannerisms as practitioners, as facilitators, the dynamic ability of the EC curriculum, as well as the cultural norms and the culture within our environment. We have to ensure that our children are aware of those things, and we have to allow them to express themselves freely. We want to talk about how we build their self-esteem by the setting up of the environment. We don't dominate the learning areas as we would have made them accessible to the children, but we allow them to freely explore and socialize in a safe and, well-maintained learning environment.
Well said. I see some comments here. All right, keep them going. Share strategies and any suggestions you have there that can help parents and educators in the comments. We spoke earlier about communication between parent and child, but share with us how educators can foster effective communication with parents to support a child's school readiness. Andrea.
Educators. All right. So, as educators, we have to be active listeners. As a parent, I may be very anxious on my first day, with my child. Anxiety is killing me, and I am sharing, tirelessly with my child's teacher about the needs of my child. But my child teacher is busy writing up, making notes, talking to the next teacher, not really listening to me. So, active listening for me is very important for educators. It will give parents a sense that you, as the educator, understand their needs. You, as the educator, will look out for the needs of their child and will allow for the environment to be safe, and you will engage them if anything should come up as it relates to their child and their child's need. Even in these conversations with parents, after they have finished speaking, it's important that we reflect. So, reflective listening is critical for me. And so, as I would have shared my concern as a parent, and you giving me, your feedback, and having to come back and say, you notice that Mrs. Brown, I noticed that you said, Stefan is a little bit outspoken, or he speaks, more readily than others. I noticed that, so I'm going to give him duty to lead the discussion or whatever. Parents now have the idea in their head that you are using the skills that my child already come to you with to assist in the classroom. And so, reflective listening and applying what you have learned about the children in a positive way will assist parents. And so, we have to be, as EC practitioners direct, we want to speak clearly. You want to voice the rules of the school to your parents as clear as possible. Don't allow it to be punitive, but let them know that these are the rules of Marymount Basic Schools. Parents are not allowed to slap their children at our school. This is what we do when we recognize abuse. And these are some of the steps we take to support our parents. Here is our parental involvement policy. We're inviting you to our sports day. We're inviting you to be a source of knowledge in our schools, because a lot of our parents are experts in different areas. And so they provide a source that will enhance our, school environment. And so communicating to them about, the needs and how they can support their child in that learning environment is necessary for them to trust you with their child, for them to support the school adequately. Because parental, as we have been in the field and interacting with our practitioners, with our school leaders, parental involvement can pose a challenge at times. But when we have a school where the parents are well appreciated and are communicated with clearly, then we realize that they themselves own the school, and they also put a lot of their energy in the school, and they support the school by building on what the school already have existing as it relates to parental involvement. So be an active listener, be a reflective listener, speak clearly and communicate the policies, the procedures, and the rules of the school clearly to the parents in a loving and a kind way, so parents can come on board and support the ECI.
Fantastic. And let's round out this segment for the educators with some strategies that they can use to manage diverse learning needs and behaviors in the classroom, because each child is unique. Right.
Each child is unique, and we would have said before, it is looking at the individual child. And so it is important that as practitioners, we are adaptable. And as we would have planned that the children will be circling the letter S today, they may not be able to circle the letter S, but they may be able to draw it on the board very large, right? So in the classroom, it's important that we ourselves are flexible as the practitioner. We change our approaches and we flex with the needs of the child and with whatever output that we're getting from the child. There are days when when the children's energy is low, we may have to adjust our behavior because the child, the energy is low today and the child is not into the jumping and screaming. What can we do? Do you want to quietly, catch a ball or so on? So we have to ensure that the curriculum or whatever we're delivering to our children based on their diverse needs, that we as the practitioners become flexible. It cannot be that everything is static. We did talk about how the early child classroom is dynamic and it continues to change. And so we have to pay attention to the space that we're in, the time that we have to use with our children, and the energy that we put into the different activities in order to facilitate children who has this dynamic ability and who continues to change. And we also have the room in our lesson plans to write our reflections, talk about the changes we have made, to do our evaluation, and in our activity plans, I should say, and to do our evaluation. And in so doing, we're able to adjust to meet the needs of our children where they are at the specific time within our classrooms. And we can also have the parents being involved in these activities so they themselves are able to support us with these dynamic children. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That was Andrea Edwards-Brown sharing classroom preparation for educators. And I did mention at the beginning that this is a special forum. And so we are going to be going over the typical 1 hour because we want to make sure that we help you to get ready for back to school as parents and educators. So stick around. If you have to rush off because it's your bedtime, don't worry. The recording will be here and we'll be sharing the in-depth highlights in our blog post on Monday on the Serenity Resource Connector website. So you can subscribe to the website and you'll get the blog in your inbox on Monday, God's willing. All right, so we're going to be moving over to giving you some tips, strategies for helping with emotional and mental health. And to cover this for us is Sophia Stewart, our Jamaica School Readiness Assessment Coordinator, JSRA. We're learning these new acronyms now, Sophia. Let's dive right in.
All right.
Yes, what signs of anxiety should parents and educators watch for in young children as they transition to school?
All right. Good evening, everyone. It is so good to be here, and kudos to my colleagues. They have set a wonderful foundation. Now, what is anxiety? It's feeling worried, you're nervous, and sometimes anxiety is fueled by whether fear or excitement. And what are we going to look out for? Because we have children with varying abilities, we have those who will speak and we have those that we have to watch out for their actions. And that's how we understand what they're saying to us. So you will find changes in behavior. They're clingy. They want to hold on to you more than ever, whether it be the parent or the caregiver. They may want to avoid places and people and activities. And then there are the physical symptoms. Mommy, I have a headache, or daddy, my tummy hurting me. And guess what? You can't find no medical reason whatsoever why the head hurting, why the tummy hurting, but it's just them being nervous. And can I say sometimes the parents are more nervous than the children. You also have sleep issues. Boy, I can't sleep. It's either so excited to be at the first day back to school. Mary, my friend, she's going to be at school. And Mary can't wait. We can't wait to get there. We can't wait to play, show the new book, show the pretty bag. We just can't wait. And because of that level of excitement, or I wonder what my teacher going to be like. I remember my teacher last year. Teacher last year was nice. Will the new teacher be nice? And if you're wondering, and believe it or not, as young as they are thinking about all these things. What happened the last time? What's going to happen in this school year? Then there are the emotional signs. They might be irritated. You see the mood swings, they change. 1 minute they're happy, next minute they're down, and the next minute they're throwing tantrums, and you are getting upset because you're wondering, this is not, you past this stage already. Why are you throwing tantrums at this day? And we don't stop to think that possibly my child is nervous. They're worried about what this school year will bring. And we also sometimes label it as them being bad, them being disruptive. And guess what, practitioners? Guess what, educators? Guess what, parents? It's just them being nervous. They're wondering, are them being so excited that anxiety has taken over? There is also the trouble with focusing. There is also, guess what? They never used to bite their fingernails, and they start biting the nails, they start twirling the ear, they start fidgeting, and you are there wondering. And then there are some, Mary used to be a friend. Why are you not going over to play with Mary? You are so correct. Mary is still your child's friend, but guess what? They're wondering about so many things. It's a new, same school, but it's a new classroom. The setup is different. The teacher is different. So I now have to get used to all these things which are just new, and everything coming at me all at once. And that's why I love what Shaunette had mentioned. The whole aspect of orientation, going in, seeing teacher, knowing names and seeing where I'm going to be seated, what the class setup will be like. And this is just one aspect that will help to calm the child a bit, because it won't be coming at the child all at once. So those are some of the signs that you can look out for as educators and as parents.
Amazing. Right. Just some housekeeping. If you're tuned in on Instagram, we might lose that connection because there's a time limit on Instagram. So hop on over to Facebook or YouTube and join us there as we continue. All right. So Sophia is going to continue sharing some effective strategies for easing a child's anxiety and ensuring a smooth transition from home to school. So you identify, know what are the strategies to deal with that.
Can I tell you that you got the strategies already? But no problem. I don't mind sharing them again. Guess
No,
what?
it's okay.
Yes,
Maybe you can just
Shaunette
pinpoint.
and
No?
Louri touched
Yes.
it so well. Communicate. Talk
Yes.
with your children. Allow them to express their feelings and reassure them. Let them know that, boy, you did an awesome job in this class and you're going to give your very best. And I know that you can do it. You are also going to create a supportive environment where you allow your child to feel safe and secure. Andrea mentioned that. So it's not just ensuring that the chairs and the toys are okay, no sharp edges, but the educator ensuring that you are observing, for you to write down your anecdotal notes and your records, for you just to have that conversation with the parents. You have to observe, and don't just observe the children, but observe the parents as well, because they too, they need reassurance, because some of them, as I said earlier, they're even more nervous than the children, and they need that sense of reassurance to know that I know that the class is different. I know I'm a new teacher, but we are going to work together. We are working together for the best outcome possible for your child, and your child, and even when they come and they're ready to reel out all the bad, guess what? Reassure them. Every child has, as they are unique, they have their strengths and their weaknesses, and we are going to explore all the strengths, and we are going to build on the weaknesses, and they don't have to worry. And just in case things get really, really extreme, there is always our doctors, our pediatricians, our child psychologists that we can consult. But we are not going to jump to worst case scenario, because sometimes we do that and it doesn't help you, the parent, you, the educator, and it doesn't help the child. Louri had mentioned, guess what? Play, 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 play. It was Joseph Chilton Pierce who said, play is the royal road to childhood happiness and adult brilliance. It's the work. Another person said it's the work of the child. If you just want to get your children at ease. You see those same learning environments, those 5 learning environments that Andrea spoke of, you are going to set them up in such a way that will accommodate both free play and structured play. And it gives the child the opportunity that Louri mentioned, that discovery learning will take place. And the child will then feel comfortable. Boy, I can make things. Teacher give me an opportunity to create something, to make something. I have that level of freedom. That space is provided. And that's the best way to start where children are concerned. Play. They work best when it's fun. Learning should always be fun. So the best way to ease a child's anxiety, ensure that the environment that is set up is ready for play. And yes, that might mean, say, boy, you just set up these amazing learning environments and they are going to interact with them. And Andrea said it doesn't stay static. It's going to change. They're going to change it. They're going to explore. But guess what? You see, when you as the parent or the educator stops and observe what is happening, you see so much learning taking place, concepts being reinforced, and you say, but they haven't forgotten everything that they learned in the previous year. The knowledge is still there. They just needed an avenue to bring it out and play. That room, it provides that room to accommodate that learning, that reinforcement, everything that is still there in the brain. We also want to create routine. When we speak of routine, again, we have children with varying abilities. And so there are children we can sit and we can discuss and we can say, all right, we're going to do this. And then after we do this activity, we're going to the next activity, and they understand and it helps to calm them. But guess what? There is another set. You're going to need your pictorial timetable, and that same schedule can be set up at home where you have a pictorial schedule, allowing them to understand that we're going to get up at X time. We're going to get up at 6. And after we get up, the next activity we're going to do, we're going to get ready to go have our bath. So we need our toothbrush, we need a toothpaste, and you know the things that they're going to need, and they're able to just look at the pictures and be guided accordingly. You might say, boy, it is work, but guess what? It's you taking the time to communicate with your child, meeting the child where he or she is, in order to get them to the place where we need them to be. So we need to make the time for that. Louri mentioned bubble blowing, and I wondered if we all were looking at each other's scripts, because I can tell you that bubble blowing, it's so relaxing. Our children are filled with anxiety. We just need to introduce games. So whether it be blowing the bubbles or practicing breathing, we're going to exercise a little, we're going to lay on our sleeping mats a little, and we're just going to put our palms down and we're going to breathe. We're just going to relax. Let's see who can get this done. Let's see who can stay still the longest and just breathe and enjoy it. And yes, so we need to use games that will allow them to relax. And guess what? We also can facilitate group activities that will build their social skills. So we're going to work together. We're going to build a tower. Maybe we're going to put the pieces together for a puzzle, and we are going to get it done and achieve it. And maybe when we do this activity, we're going to get some extra time to do another activity. So you want to utilize play. You want to ensure routines are set in such a way that it caters to children who are okay with having conversations, but those who will, based on their behaviors, they would rather the picture cues at this time and will help them to converse. So you want to ensure that there is always a balance. In addition to that, Shaunette mentioned getting to bed. We know that we are coming out of the summer break and we want to return to our transition activities. And maybe your child might not be as quick as the children that Shaunette mentioned to tell them, hey, we're going back to bed this particular time in order to ease their anxieties, but we're going to have to do it in a gradual process. So maybe you gave them an extra hour. Let's start taking 10 minutes off that extra hour until we get back to our regular scheduled time, in order to get them calm, get them rested, so that they're not so much filled with anxieties. So we have to stop. We have to observe our children. We have to observe the children in our class. And this is for both our parents and educators to understand that every child is not the same. So the way I ease the anxiety that John is showing, it might not be the same with Mary. So I need to observe. I need to take the time to know each child that's in the classroom, because even though you saw them last year, you think you had a grasp on what they like, they might come with different ideas, different preferences, and just learning their preferences, what they like, what they don't like, it will also help to ease their anxieties.
You see, I'm sure there's a lot more that our parents and educators learned just by you pulling it all together just now. Thank you so much, Sophia. All right, we have to help to preserve and maintain our young people or little people mental well-being. All right, so we are going to bring it home now, or should I say Carene Francis is going to bring it home now, our community relations manager, acting by sharing community support and resources. How can we not share the resources? This is Serenity Resource Connector, and we're in Community Corner. So let's hear, Carene, what programs and resources the Early Childhood Commission offer to support school readiness. I see a lot of sharing in the comments here about some things that might be missing from some of the schools. Let's hear what the ECC has to offer as support for our ECIs.
All right, thank you so much, Winsome. My colleagues, they would have looked at preparedness from the parental aspects, the mental aspect, classroom aspects. So now we're going into our resources. right? And all families, that all our families are part of our community, and whether that community is figurative or literal, whatever you consider your community, there are myriads of resources available to you, because community essentially provides a physical, emotional, and cognitive environment conducive for the development of your child. Right. So, what are some of those resources available in our communities? We look at educational resource and assistance. We have cultural experiences. We also have financial and material aids in our communities. And then we have family experiences, interpersonal relationships, and skills that are developed. Because essentially, we know that our children, they model the behaviors of the adults. But the question is, do we know the resources that are available in the community? Right? Because most time, a lot of persons are part of a community, but then they're just in and they're out and they don't socialize, they don't know what's happening. But before I go into the community aspect, I'm going to look at what programs and resources are available through the Early Childhood Commission. Now, currently, we have a series of principal and chairman training sessions. So what this does is that we are seeking to update, inform, enhance the leadership and management skills at our early childhood institutions. We are reiterating some of our expectations for the operators of these institutions. We also bring in our chairman so that they know what is happening in the space, so that they can offer greater support to the schools instead of just being a part of the board. So, you are aware, we give them tons of different um, resources to take away with. We provide them with skills, we provide them with opportunities, and then we let them know what is happening from the ECC or what is available to them. Next, we have August is Stop Learning Environment Month. So we have where our officers go into the early childhood institutions, or essentially we get some of our practitioners, they come and they meet us at the resource centers, and we are rearranging the learning centers. Andrea would have mentioned that earlier. So we are decluttering the space, we are changing what these centers look like, because then we are trying to appeal as much as possible to the different learning styles of our children. So we are enhancing the space. We want that as the children come in, they feel more comfortable. We are ensuring that all the activities and the charts, they're at eye level, so that each child is able to learn in their own way. Next, we would have conducted our back to school webinar. So we have our parent webinar, which is organized through the community relations department, and we look at safety during the summer. We look at back to school preparedness. What are those things that parents need? Shaunette would have gone into that. So we look at practical tips, we look at resources available in the space, and how soon they should be getting prepared for back to school. Also, we have our community-based activities. So we have our community flex, where we do a needs assessment of the communities. We talk with our parents in the space. What are some of those things that they don't have as yet? What are some of the things that they need? Who are some of those agencies or organizations that they need to make connections with? So we move from the community flex and we're in our walk and talk. And with the walk and talk, what we do is actually bring in some of those agencies. So we have partnerships with PATH. We have parents being signed up for the PATH program within the space. So you don't have to go to the office. They can start that application right in the community. We also have partnership with different financial institutions. It is that they want to get a loan. We partner with these individuals. We partner with the different organizations, public and private, and we bring it to our parents. So it provides ease of access, and then we give them that comfort in their space. We also organize different community activities through the ECD councils. And one of those, we have immunization drives. So, are your child immunized? We look at the health centers, the offerings of the health centers, and we know that usually, as your child starts school, they get sick. They were good for the entire summer, but as they start school in the first week, in the first month, everybody's sick. And then you have like every week you're sick, you recover, and then you're sick. So what we try to do, we are creating awareness, and we want to know that your child is up to date with their medicals, they're up to date with their immunization, so we reduce the chance of them being sick. All right. So now we're going to go into what offerings we can provide in the community. What are those resources that are available in the community? Now, for our parents, as I said, I would have asked the question, are you aware of the happenings in your space? Do you know the different organizations and groups within your space? Right. And it can be as simple as the shop next door, the wholesale, the hairdresser, right? So I know that the Kiwanis Club, for instance, they offer back to school programs or back to school drives. You have book drives within the space. So we look for posters with these advertisings. We are on our social media page, and this is in our smaller communities, right? One of the things that I would have seen recently is that persons put out a post and they are advertising the list of books that they have, and on social media, you get a response. So, just like that, in your little community, you'd have received assistance. Then we have our medical facilities. Currently, a lot of medical practitioners are offering discounts on back to school medicals. So that is something that you can look forward to. We also have our church groups. One of the things I used to love growing up is VBS. Now, VBS is a good platform because here your child is provided with resource. The child is not just being idle at home or in the community, and just as though there are parties like every week, your child is a part of a program and they have structure. So we have different moral values, and then they are allowed to be creative in a more structured environment. We also have our libraries and our community centers. So what is happening at your community center? Are you aware? Our libraries are still open. We have also book drives happening within the libraries, and there are myriad of resources available, but you have to be there in order to know what is happening within your space. Then we have our state agents. So we know that we have local partners, we have local politicians who may be having back to school drives, probably a little later on. We have about 2 weeks more before school reopens. So that is something that you can look out for. Now, community provides a village. It's a sense of protection and security, and through financial and emotional support, right? And then there are different leaders in your communities. You have political government officials and advocates groups, and we have our community gatekeepers and organizers. But we have to be aware of what is available to us. And these entities, they show an interest in the development of the community because they're investing in the future. And that's our children. And we look at it as corporate parenting because every person is responsible for each child within a community.
That's just the tip of the iceberg because we have a lot of youth organizations, community-based organizations who have been organizing a number of back to school fairs. So it's not just to help with the book bags and all of that, but free medicals to include
Yeah.
your testing of the eyes, dentals. So you just have to keep an eye out and don't just silent those community WhatsApp groups. You have a lot of resources that you can access there, your local business association and other entities in the space. Serenity Resource Connect to have a host of resources. We've made it easier by putting them on the website so you can go on and go through and check for the different areas. So if you're looking for support in culture, you can go there. If it's anything in the community development space, you can find something there from our, as you said, the local governance, community groups. So Community Corner will give you a number of entities that are providing services in this space. Culture Corner for your cultural activities. And of course, we have our youth leaders segment, Youth in Action, that gives you a host of activities and initiatives put on by the youth. All right, so how can parents and educators access community resources? We shared that. So we're going to wrap up with the ways community involvement can make a difference in preparing children for school. You would have mentioned that, but just for final wrap up, Carene. in terms of the community involvement in preparing the children for school. Final thoughts on that.
Okay, so one of those things that we look at preparedness for school, we look at engagement, we look at building relationships. So instead of having the child at home, because I know that sometimes it's not just the physical play, but most of our children now, they are stuck on their tablets, they're stuck on the gadgets, and they they've become a little bit emotionally retarded. So they are not socializing as they should. So we look at engaging them in community activities. So they are making relationships with the shopkeepers instead of keeping them at home. We take them on walks through the community. We building that relationship. Shaunette would have mentioned how, the friends that are in the community, the persons who they'll be back in school with. We have our parents that they are modeling the behavior in terms of how they interact, so that you don't lose that connection, that when you go to school you're just sitting there, and then the anxieties will be reduced, because then you are preparing them mentally, because they're already a part of that big community. Because remember, community is not just, as we are looking at it, where you reside. It can be just a little group in your family. Your school is a community, right? So if you would have mentioned, we are reducing the anxieties, because you would have think that, oh, but they've been to school before, right? At the end of the day, they are starting a new class, and then when they go, we want to ensure that they're comfortable. So the community offers that level of support, that level of involvement, and it's interactive. They're learning different cultures, so then they're interacting with different persons, so they are getting back into that feel of what it is for to be prepared for school.
All right. So there we have it. This intense special live forum on back to school readiness, expert tips for early childhood parents and educators and the community at large, because we have a number of community advocates that's joining us. And I must highlight Ava and endorse commendations to the ECC. Great partner entity indeed. Always a pleasure to partner with Team ECC, Sophia Stewart, and colleagues. Another here, Plunkett Brown said, while we talk with them as parents, be careful not to transfer the anxiety we feel onto them. That's our little people. All right. Thank you all. You kept the comments going and you kept sharing. Remember, you can continue the conversation after this. So even on the YouTube page, feel free to leave a comment. A parent, you never know, will be able, or another educator will be able to see some of the tips, the strategies that you have been using that's been working for you. All right, ladies. So we had the manager early childhood development assessment services, Louri-Ann Robotham, sharing with us our Jamaica School Readiness Assessment, just the JSRA coordinator, Sophia Stewart, Senior Inspector Region 7, Andrea Edwards-Brown, our Community Relations Manager acting, Carene Francis, and you just heard from our Community Relations, earlier, our Community Relations Officer, Region 7, Shaunette Grant. Awesome team, ECC. Thank you so much. Very interesting presentation. Colleen is saying here, some great commendations for the team. As always, keeping the banner of excellence high. So let me thank you all who were able to stay with us for over an hour of this kind of engagement. And remember, you can catch the highlights on the Serenity Resource Connect website, the comprehensive blog highlighting all that was shared here. And welcome to the community. For those who are new to the space, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss another session here. We do this live each Thursday, looking at different areas. Once you go on the website, you'll be able to see the different discussions that we carry and how best that can help you in your daily life as individuals, educators, parents, community builders. And let me thank you all again for joining us. And until next time, have yourself a fantastic rest of the night. Ladies, thanks again.